Hello and welcome to episode -1 of BevyBasics. This is just a quick follow-up video intended to be watched before the previous video, going through what extensions that I use for when I'm doing Bevy. Basically, I just recommend the Rust extension pack because it contains an analyzer and a bunch of helper extensions that will make your your TOML file and keeping your dependencies up to date much easier. It's also got a Rust extension tester, which I haven't really used very much, but looks quite useful in terms of it. Will actually build like a tree out of all your tests and whatnot. It also comes with a debugger, which I again haven't really used. My other recommendation beyond that is error lens, because Rust is really well documented, which means inside VS Code, you'll end up with a wall of documentation with your error at the bottom that you have to scroll through. And error lens just puts the error on the line that the error occurs on, which is significantly improved over the way that VS Code does it. And great recommendation. And I also have GitHub Copilot enabled, which is just really useful for filling in some spaces. The biggest issue with Copilot is with Bevy, it seems that because Copilot was trained on GitHub repositories when Bevy 0.5 was out, it will recommend the old way of doing things, like app build instead of app new. But also because it's probably read a lot of other game engine code, it will recommend names that sound right for functions but aren't actually functions in Bevy, whether Bevy calls them something separately or whether in the past Bevy had a name for it. Because I believe in version 5 it might have been with, but I've noticed that with Visual Studio Code is that it will also recommend .with instead of .insert to add additional components to something when you're spawning it. I'll just give a quick example. I've got the pre-release version of the Rust analyzer. I'm not sure if that's what made mine faster or whether it's because I'm in a fresh repository, but it seems to be significantly faster. But there's just a few issues that I want to point out, and if anyone can recommend in the comments how to fix this first one, it would be very helpful, because it's been annoying me to no end in my day-to-day working with stuff. But some reason there is errors. They compound in that if I save this so that the Rust analyzer runs, it says down here that there is actually 3 errors, and it's just the same error 3 times. This is even weirder because on my other one that's not using the pre-release, it only gets 2 errors, and I assume it's because the Visual Studio Code is running its analyzer and finding an error, and then Rust analyzer is finding an error. So it's reporting the same error twice in exactly the same location. And I'm assuming maybe that the third one is because it's now running the pre-release on top of that, which is finding it a third time, and I'm ending up with 3 copies of the same error. So I would assume my code would error check much faster if it wasn't running the error checking 3 times. So if anyone has any way of turning that off, that would be helpful. I'll put it in the description if someone does tell me. And there was another thing. I was showing off. This is why error lens is really important, is because to see this error, it's written here. But if I try to find it by actually hovering over the error, I have to scroll through all the vector documentation. There is other ways of finding it, like hovering over the actual variable. But the only reason this is so vague is because I think the error is actually causing a lot of things to get hidden away, because it doesn't know. So it's just saying vector unknown, whereas hovering over the vector will give you the vector documentation. Yeah, Copilot has some minor issues, but they're harder to show off because they sort of just turn up every now and then. But you'll just notice that, in the first video, I think I did this, or I copy and paste. I don't remember. There was too many takes. But Copilot recommends albedo here instead of base color, and it will recommend .with instead of .insert, and cargo app build instead of app new, which are all just sort of variants between the versions. But hopefully this video has been useful if you're looking for some extensions. Put recommendations in the comments and I'll add them to the description if I find them useful or helpful. I'm always looking for ways to improve my code experience. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.